Grimlock? I want Grimlock.
We are live, and it's
Okay, now
little dinosaur says, "Wear your safety mask." Raw. So, Staff Sergeant BA over at Step One Survival, he's got a cute little Tyrannosaurus Rex. Well, I have a mechanized one.
Grimlock.
Mechanized. Know what I mean? I pity the fool. Oh, anyways, what's up? We're live with Poison Stinger. And Miss Stinger is in the background telling us what we should and shouldn't do because she's the voice of reason. So today we're talking about COVID-19 since everybody wants to talk about it. Some interesting facts that have come up according to the Drudge Report anyways. One state has purchased a hotel to use as a quarantine facility. Also like to say Nashville, hopes and prayers and thoughts with you people. Because apparently tornadoes shred down downtown Nashville. And of course they're still assessing the damage and all that. So thoughts and prayers go out to the people in Nashville. Let's see. Of course, the debacle of the Democrats. Yeah, they're having their weirdo stuff going on in the day. Woody Allen did a autobiography, so everybody go listen to that. I guess I gotta check that out myself. Chris Matthews quit MSNBC. Many millennials can't change a light bulb. Wow, wonder why. What's up, Angel? Surgeon General said you should wear a mask. Well, all the other countries are wearing masks, so everybody should wear a mask. But we can cover some topics on that. So
how many millennials does it take to screw in a light bulb?
You probably have to hire some old person to do
it. Is there an app for that?
Maybe there might be. UFOs or drones. Time-lapse video of the Outer Banks find mysterious red trails in the sky. That's interesting. I'll check that out. Go look that up. Might be first contact. Also, I wanted to do more searching on supposedly the 5G does some kind of DNA damage similar to what the coronavirus does, but that's scuttlebutt right now or hearsay. What else we got? Oh, something happened in the Kremlin. There's some bank accounts frozen. Go figure. Communist government. Central banks promise to act on the virus, but risk no specifics. Damn, I can't talk today. Stupid speech impediment.
Well, you definitely don't want to have all your money in the bank for sure.
Well, you got to have money first, I guess, before you can put it in the bank.
Yeah, that is a requisite. Yeah, prerequisite to that. Yeah.
Quarantine should have lasted longer. It's having a psychological impact. Let's see. Kids may be secret carriers. They're germ bags. Come on now. They touch everything in the store and put their hands all over everything. Don't wash. Yeah, I mean that's
man, I've gotten a lot less sick since my kid has left. A lot less sick.
They're saying bye-bye to handshakes. Nobody needs a handshake anymore.
They don't know how to handshake proper anyway.
No, you give them a limp wrist. But I'm saying, I guess handshakes will spread the virus. FEMA, prepping for emergency. They're posting up stuff again about you should be prepping for an emergency. The sick map is growing, of course. I guess Washington State had some people die. More people die at a nursing home. So that's one thing you got to worry about. Like my wife, whenever she first started her adventure in healthcare, she wanted to be a CNA while she was going to school. So she went to CNA and she became a CNA because this is a certificate program. And they taught you PPE, to put gloves on and a mask. Nothing else. Like if you go into a room with MR, somebody that has bursa or some kind of airborne disease that can be spread out, and I am frozen, aren't I? They don't teach you how to do proper PPE, so you're expendable. I mean, it's different if you're in a bigger hospital or you're a nurse or something. They're going to have you, but they're not teaching these CNAs. Like I said, I don't want to pick on CNAs because they do a thankless job. But let's be real here: if you're not teaching these ladies and young men the proper PPE stuff, then you're doing them a disservice, not only to them but to the people that they're caring for.
Right.
So I don't know if you can see that, but you are blotchy, splotchy, and
No, you're froze, bro.
no. But you can still hear me.
I can still hear you. You're froze on YouTube as well, though. So.
Damn. Well, as long as this is the story I tell you from the middle of nowhere. I can't broadcast from my phone, so maybe it'll clear up in a minute. So, any thoughts on the recent revelations there, Mr. Stinger?
That's a lot to process. I mean, I don't watch the news close enough. I didn't even know Chris Matthews left MSNBC. I mean, stop the press. What's going on with that?
I don't know.
I mean,
I haven't had time to investigate.
All right. That was a lot of news going on for what I'm usually, in tune with. So now they're recommending everybody wear a mask. That's just not going to happen. I mean, it will eventually, right? We're already seeing some panic buying. You even saw it in your area, which is kind of strange.
Yeah, that's a phenomenal, right? Hot in my area.
Yeah, that's weird. The wife follows it a lot closer than I do. What's your thoughts about it?
Just in general, or not spread, or?
Well, the recent events, I guess.
Well, the recent events are that the thing is mutating faster than SARS and the others. All right, it's hit nursing homes and anybody with
weak immune
system. Weak immune systems. It transmits through air, through eye mucus. Don't rub your eyeballs together with other people.
No tonsil hockey. So
I think that the Chinese government lied a lot about what really happened.
A communist state lying about how good or bad something is going on in their country?
Yeah. I'm a firm believer it's a bioweapon.
Oh, yeah. I would be on that page myself. They don't want to look like idiots that they are. And it's the same thing while he resets his computer. It's the same thing with Chernobyl in Russia. They kept downplaying that one for a long time. Oh, it's nothing. It's nothing. But it was something. It was a lot worse than anybody thought because they were too fucking proud to admit when they'd done something wrong.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they're not going to. And then, like, on the CDC's front page today, this morning, because I looked at it, I guess it was today, about 1 a.m., they're talking about nothing's really changed, and then you go search the healthcare worker side of it, and they're talking about using PAPR respirators, double shielding, so you wear N95 that's fitted, and then you wear a surgical shield on the outside of it, and that's just because there's going to be a shortage of the respirators, the N95, so you're going to wear the N95 and then a surgical mask over top of it, which leads into what I was wanting to talk about today too. But, they're talking about reusing PPE because they're not going to have any, and that most facilities should use basically a rebreather or a Draeger type forced air respirator that sucks through a filter and feeds air into your mask, so that if you go in the room with these people, you're going to be not spreading the virus. Plus, they're talking about they're building these AIR, which is like a negative pressure chamber in each room. So they're talking about building all these crazy things, but we don't need to wear a mask in public or to worry about it, right? Hello from Oklahoma, trying surviving. What's up? How are you doing today, sir, ma'am?
Something crazy happened back in the 80s. Dean Koontz, I don't know if you've heard of him, but he's a very big name writer. He wrote a book called The Eyes of Darkness, and he actually wrote about the coronavirus. They call the stuff Wuhan 400 because it was developed at their rDNA labs outside of the city of Wuhan, and it was the 400th viable strain of man-made microorganisms created at that research center. Wuhan 400 is the perfect weapon. It afflicts only human beings. No other living creature can carry it, and like syphilis, Wuhan 400 can't survive outside a living human body for longer than a minute, which means it can't permanently contaminate objects or entire places the way anthrax or other viral microorganisms can. But when the host expires, it'll mutate, and Wuhan 400 within him perishes not a short while later, but a long while later, and living longer on those surfaces. So he wrote about that back in 1981 when he published his book.
Yeah, that's essentially the same process they're saying. Because the DNA is saying they're pretty much the same, but the RNA is like the what's spreading.
Mm-hmm.
Not a ma'am, wrong plumbing. Laugh out loud. Hey,
he's gonna come back with mail on the end of that. All right.
Yeah. Oh, that. Yeah. Wrong plumbing. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
We try not to assume.
Yeah. We try not to assume, and it looks like you have a picture of some outdoors on there, and it's about the size of a number 2 pencil on my screen. So try to be correct. So how are we doing out there in Oklahoma today? Thoughts, comments on the current bug? That's crazy.
What was the Dean Koontz thing called?
The Eyes of Darkness.
In the Eyes of Darkness, for anybody interested in the book from Dean Koontz.
That's crazy that it specifically says Wuhan. But you know what? That's the only place. Yeah. Well, that's the only place there's a level 4 lab.
Yeah. Well, no, there's other ones around. I'm pretty sure there's a couple not in Arizona, in America. I don't know.
In China, that's the only level 4 lab that they have.
But that's the one that keeps. I mean, it's the second time from that same town that a virus like this has gotten out.
I'm good. Just got off work hours ago. About to fall asleep. Well, we appreciate the support.
Yeah.
Feeling mischievous. Well, you're in the right place because we're some mischievous people.
Yeah, if we get off rails, we can go real off rails. Oh no, there we go. Yeah.
Well, we can go off the rails. We can go off the rails with the virus part, anyways, because it's a conspiracy just for the fact that it came from a level 4 area lab.
Well, that's what they're calling it anyway. I mean, a conspiracy, right? Or if you talk about it that way, because of course this just happened natural, and no government is at fault for this kind of thing. It's just a God thing, not a. And well, we don't believe in God, so this is a nature thing because we kill the animals in the global warming.
Joe, a level 4 lab. Without breaking out the manual, you're looking at a procedures that you're going to have to decon in certain ways. There's really a lot of bad stuff there. It's where they'll make bioweapons. And so there's a lot of strict procedures you're supposed to follow coming in and out. Like I talk about the 3 decontamination rooms or levels. There's more levels to that before you can go in or out of the area. So what you would originally do is you would have to go through you go into a dirty room where you'd take off all your clothes and everything except for your mask. Then you'd enter a second room where you would be washed down with some kind of decontaminant solution, depending on what you're exposed to. You'd still leave the mask on, and it depends on operating procedures of your organization. But some places will have you you'll shower off, and then leave the mask on while you're showering off, and then at the last minute, hold your breath, take one last breath, pull the mask off, and stand underneath the water and wash, and then put the mask into a container outside of the washroom. And then you'll proceed from the washroom to the area where you're going to dry off and clean. And I'm missing a whole lot of stuff here, but just to simplify it. The doors have to automatically close behind you. So if it's plastic or Tyvek room, there's a lot of different steps involved. But then you go to your clean room where you'll change into a clean paint suit or Tyvek suit or chemical suit. Most companies, depending on the company, of course, some companies have a locker room right there, and some just have clean suits for you to put on, or you can put on a pair of shorts or something, depending on budgeting for your company. And then you'll leave that room and go to your locker room and get dressed. So that's the 3 steps, the minimal 3 steps you need to do to decontaminate. And in a level 4 lab, there's a lot more layers to that decontamination process to go in and out of the lab that you're in. So if one of those are misstepped, say a maintenance man goes in and takes his screwdriver bag, it doesn't, he has a sandwich in it or something, and it doesn't decontaminate, because what you take in, you're not supposed to bring back out unless it's decontaminated. So it turns into a nightmare if one person does something wrong.
Yeah. And this one, to answer Joe Toff, I don't think this is necessarily the Chinese government making bioweapons for the Chinese government. I believe that this is more than that, right? There's different countries involved in this. I know America is involved in stuff like this.
Yeah. We're all involved in it.
Yeah. We have rules. We have rules against bioweapons, but we still fuck around with it.
Yeah. Well, see, we don't want to have the next person to have something we don't, right? So, and a lot of this too is even if you don't. Okay, so there's so many things you can go over, but for example, a negative pressure area, right, is what you would keep stuff like this in, and through the filtration system, the air filtration, it has to be changed ever so often. And if you do that incorrectly, the person, say the change in the filters, if they're not correctly changing the filters, and they skip one of those steps that we talked about, they're potentially infected. And if it's a maintenance man or a low level guy or somebody just having a bad day and they just mess up, and they don't tell anybody, then they walk out of the building. And maintenance may have a different protocol than the people coming from the actual lab. So maintenance man may just go change the filters with a mask on and incinerate them, right? Well, what happens if they don't change their clothes because they had to rush out of work real quick because they got a phone call from their wife that's pregnant or something? So if one person breaks down in the protocol, then this is possibly what could happen,
Right. And Joe's asking, why hasn't he heard from the media? Well, there's a lot of reasons why you haven't heard that from the media. I mean, you can look at Chernobyl, and see how the media was reporting that when it first happened.
So I live in a really rural area. It's so bad that's why you probably can't see me. I'm probably not moving again. But the internet,
you've been black the whole time.
Yeah. So the entire shelf of PPE. If it was a respirator, a face covering, is completely wiped out. Now, before that, 2-3 weeks ago, I was still going in and buying my, organic vapor cartridges because I need them in the job that I do. So all that's wiped out. N95s, and usually you can go in there and pull the bottom shelf out and find stuff that just fell off the back, right? No, people had went in there and cleaned this joint out, right? So that's how extreme it's getting right now, and the chance, the likelihood that it'll reach this far, if it's not a bioweapon, or to extent, it will probably get it here. It's inevitable. The flu goes around, but the bioweapons part's what's the most scary. So the biosafety level 4 is the highest level of biosafety precautions you can have. This is the technical term for it, and is appropriate to work with all agents that could easily be aerosol transmitted within a laboratory and cause severe to fatal disease to humans, for which there is no available vaccines or treatments. So that's just the clear-cut version of it. Mm-hmm. So basically, they're making the stuff of nightmares in these things so that they can treat it But as we all know, in war, they've used it to mustard gas as a one, that they made in what you would qualify as a level 4 lab now.
Right.
Well, they call it a research. Yeah, it's a research. Everything's research.
Mm-hmm.
You got that right, HTP. It's research. They've done a lot of research on us, I'm sure. Hence the anthrax shots. If you were in the military during that time, you got anthrax shots. So I don't know if they still give them because I'm not currently in, but I live in rural Norway. I can see people are starting to buy. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't panic, but I would be prepared. I mean, if you live a rural lifestyle, anyways, you should have most stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and if you don't, it should be a wake up call for even when something like this isn't going around. It's always good to have that stuff, so you're not the one out there panic buying. HDP had a great chat about that just a day or so ago about this is why you prepare in advance, kind of thing.
Heading to bed. All right, try and survive. And thanks for checking in with us. Appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I fully agree. I mean, me and HDP are on the same page. I've been following him for a long time, and I mean, if you live the rural lifestyle, this stuff. Like, he lives. I mean, it snows and stuff where he lives, so.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you could be snowed in. I mean, it's not just a virus or collapse of law. Like, I mean, we get snowed in here, and we don't even live in the mountains, and there's no real extreme weather besides tornadoes. But I mean, even that, like, what happens if a tornado goes through your town? I know whenever tornadoes came through a couple years ago, not in our area but close to us, we were having to ship water in. They were asking for towels and soap and everything else, because people's stuff got wiped out. What's your favorite color crayon? I don't know. Probably green. That's the favorite ones I like to eat. That's a jarhead joke. Yeah, we like to eat crayons. And the funny part about that is my buddy he got a bunch of these girls to dress up in Crayola dresses, and then now that picture went viral, and so somebody posted it to my social media, and I was like, I would eat all of those crayons. So, yeah. But on the other chat, I kind of went through some of the pre-operations, operations, post-operations, some of the organizational equipment, and how the organization is supposed to work for like first responders or military, business. I mean, it just depends on, what classification and how far you want to go into. So how we doing there, Brandon? Lau? Yeah, green, of course. Yeah. HTP knows.
Nice.
So what's up, HTP? What are we doing today? Are you off to work yet? I know it's still kind of, it might be early. You're 2 or 3 hours behind me.
Yeah, where's your morning chats? That was how I got my news source for the day, because I don't watch mainstream media anymore. So I just watch what's going on in the Drudge Report with HTP. Now I have to look at it myself, which, dude, I don't want to go and have to look up stuff.
Fed just cut rates 0.5%. Whoa. Oh, no.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I'm not up to date on rates and what it means. So tell me, what does cutting the rate by 5% mean?
We'll go here, and I'm not an expert on that either. That's what I use HTP for. So
HTP, come in and talk. Explain to me about the Fed, bro. So, I mean, I know a little bit, but not enough, apparently.
It says that they lowered the benchmark funds rate by 25% basis. The Fed cuts rate the second time this year. The Federal Reserve on Wednesday cut interest rates by 0.25% point for the second time since July, as growing concerns about the potential global slowdown. So that's on CNN. HTP is like an investor, though, so he's like got all the big money. He's got the new Jeeps, and
Yeah.
all the fancy gadget. He's going to get the Gladiator, which I'm super jealous about because I want that, but my daughters say it's ugly and that I shouldn't get it.
I'm trying to cut all my liabilities and have some cash flow.
I know. I'm just harassing him. He's got a nice Jeep though.
I wanted to get a new truck, and then I looked at how much payments were going to be for the next, 5 or 6 years. I'm like, oh man, screw that. My truck's almost paid off. There's something freeing in that.
Joe Toff, I got plenty of wood burning stove, can hunt fish, and have loads of rice and stuff, so I could survive a few weeks, no problem. Yeah. Interestingly enough, I went to my yearly checkup at the Veterans Hospital, and they asked me if I'd been in contact with anyone or been out of the country in 21 days, not the 14 like they're saying. So the VA, Veterans Affairs, is concerned that it's 21 days. So that's usually a good indicator that they know something we don't. So the fudge factor of the 14 to 21 days. So it could be up to 21 days that you could be infected without knowing. And so there's a lot of, questions about that. But yeah, you sound like you're pretty good off it, especially you can fish and hunt.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just we can too here. I don't have a lot of wood. We burned through a lot of cordwood this year. But, we can always cut more unless the gas runs out and then we'll have to use hand saws, which I have. So what stereotypes are there on each military branch? Well, that's going to start a war.
Yeah.
I hear that the Air Force are the rich, smart ones. Well, there's definitely smarter because they do a lot less work. So,
yeah,
from my perspective, let me go ahead and put this. I respect all of them. I appreciate them all because everybody does their own job. But Marines are number one. Navy. If you talk to the Navy guys, they'll always trash talk you and say, "Oh, well, you're a department of the Navy," and then I have to politely inform them that we are the men's department of the Navy, and that they're just our Uber, and that they should be happy that somebody like us is protecting them. The Army. I had an old guy that worked at a gas station, and he kept harassing me. He's like, "Oh, you couldn't be a Marine. You couldn't be a Marine with all that facial hair." And I was like, "Yeah, obviously I wasn't in the Marines whenever I had all the facial hair." So I had to explain to him that Army stands for Ain't Ready for Marine Jet, and that's the government acronym that they gave them. And the Air Force, we call them the Chair Force. I hear the Navy are all closet homo. No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
There's seaman jokes for days though.
Yes, well, actually, you do. Unless you're an airman, unless you start off as an airman, your first rank is seaman, SEAMAN. So that's where a lot of that comes from. There's a lot of tough bastards in the Navy, and it's not like it used to be. As far as like, there's women on board, so it's not like, yeah. Coast Guard, that's some tough SOBs. They can do a lot of rigorous water training. So, I mean, hats off to them. Like I said, it's just a camaraderie thing for all of us to talk trash, intermilitary. So,
oh yeah,
we'll talk trash to each other. It's all good. But, it's everybody. There's there's a place for every cog in a gearbox. So. And if you're thinking about going in the military, choose whatever branch that suits you, man. Like, I can't make that decision for you unless you want to, be America's finest and you want to join the Marine Corps. But
not to mention that sexy ass uniform with the sword. I swear to God, that commercial back in the 90s made me want to be a Marine so bad. Just for the outfit and the sword.
Well, my recruiter's pitch was, hey, you want to be this, or you want to be that, or you want to be part of the few, the proud, and the laid. And that sold it for me there, buddy. I was off and running. Plus, I got to choose a duty station, so I got to go to California. So that was, check that off my bucket list there, I guess. So any questions on? Okay, let's see. Thanks for the info. I'm off down the rabbit hole. Yeah, you'll just don't get too worried. I mean, all this stuff's been out there, Joe, for a long time, and sometimes it slips out, sometimes it doesn't. But I mean, there's a lot worse bugs than what's roaming around with this COVID-19. There's a lot of bad stuff. Like I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't even accept mail if Ebola came to America. Because I don't want that. I don't want to leak out of every orifice and bleed out of every orifice and essentially leak out everywhere and die. So
yeah, it's not a pleasant way to go, but really, is there that many pleasant ways to go? I mean, I guess in your sleep is probably the best way, but
yeah, that's what most people would hope for, just to go in your sleep. So but I'd rather not be leaking out of any orifice.
Yeah, I mean, you got to take your precautions where they come, where you can, but as far as getting too worked up about any one way of dying, I don't know. I mean, yeah, you can get SARS, you can get Ebola, you could get all sorts of different ways of viral things of touching your face or nose, or just people die of the flu every year. So, take care of your health as much as you can. Try to keep that immune system strong. If it's not strong, get something to boost your immune system. And that's pretty much what you can do. Other than that, I don't know. I don't sweat it too much.
Yeah, Indiana, Kentucky are sold out of most respirators. Hand sanitizer sold out. Not so much. Most people are just buying the mask. Like, they don't have the concept of proper PPE. And I've stated before, like, hey, you got to have a face mask, man, some sealed eyewear.
People don't do research, bro. They don't.
Yeah.
They just don't do research at all on anything. They see some person in China wearing a face mask, and that's all it took. Mm-hmm. Just seeing somebody wearing a face mask, that they must have done their research. They're in China. They obviously know how to protect themselves in China.
Yeah. Well, and that's mainly to keep the spread of the virus too, because if you go look at the proper PPE, which is personal protection equipment, it tells you that's so that the person that's coughing doesn't spread it. Like if you go to a hospital, most places, they say if you got a cough, cold, or fever, put this mask on. Why? It's not to protect you from other people. It's to protect those people from you coughing.
From you.
And spitting that sputum 6 feet and aerosolizing it.
So when you see somebody else wearing a face mask, thank them for not spreading their germs to you, because you're still spreading them to them no matter what. Yeah. That's one thing I don't think people even realize. Mm-hmm. They think, oh, yeah, this is going to protect me. It's going to filter the air I'm breathing. No, it's not. Your eyes are still exposed. There's still ways to get into your mouth. It's just going to catch all the spittle and everything else that's coming out of your mouth.
Face masks don't protect you unless you have a special model. Okay, N95s will protect you to a certain extent. So, like I was saying earlier, you have to wear the N95, and then over top of that, wear another, like a bandana, for example. So, N95 blocks 95% of the particles, and it does not block organic vapor. So, if somebody coughs and it spits, then that's going to soak into that mask. So that's why they're saying on the CDC for people to wear the surgery mask over top of that so that they can keep the N95, because they're going to obviously be a shortage. But you could take off that surgical mask, and therefore the particles that you may have come exposed with can be discarded, and then you could reuse the mask. All right, HDP, are you out, buddy? Have a good day, brother. And let us know whenever you're going to start doing your chats, and I'll start doing a follow-up chat or something, so that way we can watch your chats and then roll off into mine and finish talking about what you didn't have time to, sir.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, has he talked about doing the morning chats again? Because I haven't heard anything.
Yeah, he said but I don't know what his situation is right now.
Yeah.
He was supposed to start doing them again, but he's a busy man too. So,
right.
And he's got a lot more animals than I got. So,
He does. He has quite a few.
Makes the
He has
best.
some kids too.
Makes the best jerky, man. If you ever get any HDP goat jerky, you have to check it out, man.
I haven't liked goat meat in a long time. Ever since I was a kid, we raised goats, and I don't know. It was always a little gamey for me because we'd milk our goats, right? I didn't like that much.
Uh-huh.
But the goat meat, yeah, I'm not a fan of that either. I don't know why. Maybe it was just because traumatic childhood memories or something. But
no, he sent me some a while back, and I'm telling you, it's the fire. Like you wouldn't know it was goat meat. Even my kids eat it. They're like, and they're picky because I'll feed them, deer meat. But they don't like. They'll know if it's in like I'll mix hamburger or sausage with it. Just kind of to flavor it out. But if it's jerky, I don't care. I think they'd eat possum or skunk if it was jerky. So.
Skunk jerky.
Yeah.
Oh.
Only reason I say skunk is because my neighbor called me the other day and he needed me to come over and dispatch a skunk that had rabies. So, and his kids were there, and he didn't want to. I guess he didn't want to beat it with a shovel. I'm finding out that people don't have firearms that live in the rural area, which is totally ridiculous to me. But
yeah,
some people weren't taught that way, so I get it.
Yeah, I've never been to the rural area of Indiana. Well, not meeting the people, but when I was up in Ashford, man, even the libtard Democrats had firearms out in the wilderness. So there's snakes.
Yeah.
I mean, if nothing else, you got to worry about the rattlers everywhere. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't understand it. But some people weren't raised with it. I mean, still even in my area.
Yeah.
Or if they did, the father had it and they didn't take the son or daughter hunting. So, and then there's just some people that are really, truly not interested in it. Like my wife, she came from a big city and deathly afraid of guns because, they were used for evil, right? And then we got together and started having kids, and I was in the military and stuff, and she got used to them. I wouldn't say that she's an enthusiast, but she knows that they're a what do I want to say? She's like, she knows they're a necessary evil, and she also knows that they're the great equalizer.
Yep.
Because
I lucked out, man. I love my wife. I swear to God, she's the coolest wife ever.
I love my wife too. Damn, bro.
No, what? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to throw you under the bus, but I wanted to share this because I know how lucky of a man I am, right? Because I got into the firearms in like 2011. I've had guns growing up, but I never bought my own until like 2011, 2012. So just recent. Well, not that recent anymore, but 8 years ago. And she never really was around guns either. And now, I mean, we pretty much like what each other likes, but she'll be like on the websites or watching videos on her own. And then like, hey, hun, this is the gun you need next. Like, okay. So she's out there looking for guns that we can buy next. And I'm like, man, I know a lot of dudes that don't have that. Like they have to explain to their wife why they need something, so.
Yeah, my wife's okay with it. Actually, she's purchased me probably more than I purchased for myself. So.
Nice.
But she, all of our kids have grown up around them. So it's not a taboo thing. Nice. I mean, you could leave it laying on the table and nobody would, care. It wouldn't be an issue,
Yeah, I did the same thing when I was raising my daughter. I told her, you can touch any gun you want. There's only one rule, and that is if you want to mess around with a firearm, you need to ask me. And my rule is that I can't say no.
Right.
So as long as we're at home and you're curious about this firearm I have, or you have any questions about it, I will let you handle it. and we will go through all the questions, and I'll even let you, play cowboy if you want.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to be there. And yeah, after that, I could trust her no matter what to not mishandle it. I could leave guns out if I wanted to because I knew that she was responsible. She knew the gun safety laws, and she knew exactly, because we went over this every time she would want to touch them. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I took the approach the military, so I taught them the safety rules. Keep your finger straight off the trigger. Don't point at anything you intend to shoot. Always be aware of your surroundings and all the rules that they taught us in the military. And then I went on to teach all my family members, my extended family members, the same thing, because they would come down and be like, "Oh, we can't have that in Illinois. We can't have that in Illinois. Blah 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 blah. We can't have that in Florida." Or
Mm-hmm.
And so everyone comes to me, to like the gun shoots down in Kentucky. I forget what it's called right now, but they have full automatic weapons, right? And you can go down there and pay a fee and shoot them, right? And I forget what it's called. It's down by Fort Knox. But the media claimed it was some kind of shooting in Afghanistan or something not too long ago. And I can't for the life of me think of it. But anyways, it's a big machine gun shoot in Kentucky. And they do it once or twice a year. But
yeah, we have something like that around here.
Yeah, well, you guys actually probably have a lot more stuff because in Vegas they have the full automatic machine guns you can shoot inside the indoor ranges, right?
Well, we have I can go into an indoor range and shoot fully auto. Like one of the videos that I have early in my gun channel days is me going to the Scottsdale's Gun Club and shooting a fully automatic Tommy gun.
Yeah,
my wife did that for my birthday. That was a blast. That was pretty early on, so I didn't know a lot about guns at the time, but getting to shoot a Tommy gun fully automatic was badass. We have one like northwest in Arizona called the Big Sandy Shoot, and they have these radio control airplanes that they fly in and out of a canyon that you're trying to shoot down with anti-aircraft machine guns.
Yes.
With tracers. And they do this shit during the day and then all night as well. They have grenades that actually blow up, and they do that shit at night. So, I mean, it looks like the 4th of July out there with fireworks. It looks like fireworks, but it's not. And and then even at night, they have the planes flying in and out of the canyon. They have lights on them. I don't know how they fly them without wrecking them in the thing, but, you're shooting at night at these whizzing by planes that have lights on them with tracers. I'm like, dude, I gotta go do that.
Yeah, Saints of Sapper said it. Yeah, you're right, Saints. It's called Knob Creek. I'm sorry.
Knob Creek.
I appreciate you coming in and telling us, though.
Yeah, thank you. That's cool.
I don't remember where Saints is from. Brandon, are you from Indiana or not? Brandon, I don't know what Saints' real name is, but Brandon posted up something about Indiana, so I was commenting on that. See, Scatterbrain.
So tell me again, what about this Knob Creek shoot? Because I kind of interrupted you on that.
Oh, it's phenomenal. That's they posted up on the internet. I figured one of the mainstream medias posted up that it was like they were killing people in this country, and it was just the opening night of the Knob Creek gun shoot. and it was in Kentucky.
Oh, they were filming it and then said it was from Afghanistan or something?
Yeah, or something like that.
Oh my God. Fake news.
Why would Iran have the most cases of the virus outside of China? Well, we don't know. See, that's the problem. Like, this stuff's transferable. They're not giving a real clear-cut version of what's going on. Of course, it's China. So getting proper intelligence out there, it's, like pulling teeth out.
Getting the truth from them, yeah.
You really can't say. Like, they do a lot of trade with China like we do. There's a lot of people that go back and forth. There's just a lot of places that if you go, like say if you go overseas for us to vacation, you'll see a large population or a large Chinese visitorship. So there's a lot of Chinese traveling to all these places, just like Americans travel to places. Everyone travels to places to see other places. So it could have very well have been transferred that way via airplane to Iran or anywhere for that matter,
Could also be that they don't have the same hygienic, stuff that bigger country might as well.
Yeah, well, in the big cities, Dubai and all that place. There's a couple of them. Sorry, I'm not real good with that, but there's a couple big places there that that they're upper level people, so they're a higher class of people, so they're not all tribes members that live in, I don't even remember what they're called, but like they don't live, as like tribes people as you would in a city, so that's probably a lot of the problem. Because they don't know to wash their hands after they shake your hand, and that's a big thing. They still shake hands there a lot.
And they probably wipe their butt with their hand first too.
And and also they are also saying now that you need to shave your beard and mustache, that could harbor the virus. So, and if you have a beard, most people adjust it, especially if you ride motorcycle or anything, or wind blows, you're always moving it out of your mouth or whatever. So that could be some of it too. And close proximity to people. Saints and Sappers from Alabama. Okay. The lab in Wuhan is built by China and France. Okay, so there's some conspiracy going on there. I don't remember if it was France. The Chinese workers at a France level 4 lab were sending coronavirus to China, or if it was in Canada. So you'll have to do your research on that. Don't quote me. But there was 2 Chinese scientists sending COVID-19 to China, and I think they fired them, but that's all I've heard on that subject. So I'm not an expert on that part. So that's and anything I say here, please go do your own research by all means. So sometimes I'm scatterbrained and I may spit out something that was incorrect. So please do your own checking. But as far as the hazmat part, I have the books in front of me and the training, so I can spit that correctly. It may be a little stuttered because of my speech impediment, but it is what it is, and I'll try to help anybody out that I can.
Yeah.
So how's it going in Saints and Sappers land? Is there a run on the masks and PPE in your local stores? And question for Joe. How far out are you? How far does it take you to go to town to get supplies if you need them?
That's a good question. I know when I was living up north, it was a long drive. Like the closest town was only 15, 20 minutes away, which, wasn't that far in comparison to the next town, which was like an hour and a half away. And the next town was pretty much the only town that would have been having supplies, because the little town that's close to where I was living was pretty much just a stop and off point. It's got a gas station, like a restaurant, and a bar, and that's pretty much it. It does have a post office too, but I mean that's not where you get supplies. So there was no getting supplies there unless you went to their convenience store, which most of that was just tourist trap stuff because it was on the Route 66. So yeah, in order to get to an actual supply area to buy supplies, it was a trip, man. It was an all-day trip.
So apparently yesterday, I forget which state it is, but they're purchasing used old hotels, to turn into quarantine facilities in the United States. So that's also something you guys could look into. Mainly, this is a farming channel, and that's what we're doing. But I have some background in hazmat, so we talk about that too. I haven't seen Saints and Sapper says I haven't seen it here, but I'm secluded. And I am too. It takes me an hour to reach a city, but this the phenomenal. We went to Home Depot. The wife wants to redo the kitchen, and so we went there to purchase supplies. And whenever I spray, we have a paint sprayer, so I'll paint the walls with a house paint sprayer. So I was just going to pick up some more organic vapor cartridges for my 3M 3M mask. And I walked over there, and usually, they're dusty and nobody wants them. And so I go there, and I was like, really? Come on, seriously? So I took a picture of it, and it's the cover picture that's on this chat. And they bought everything. But they left the goggles, and they left the Tyvek suits and stuff that you would need in a real pandemic. They left out just because they think the masks are important.
Yeah, well, as I said, they saw a picture of somebody wearing one and thinks that's all you need.
Yeah, and
to protect themselves.
So you're doing yourself a disservice because let's just say you can't find the mask, right? Okay, so even if you have the mask and you traipse into your house with your shoes on, that you went through all those shops and searching for this stuff, and somebody sneezed and coughed, and you walked through it, you stepped in spit that was saliva that was containing the virus, it's on your shoes. Well, you go home and put those shoes on the couch, and some people don't do that, obviously, but your kids do. They went through school, or they went to the mall, and they walked in and they put all this stuff on your couch, or they put their shoes on your countertop. I mean, there's a gambit of things that children do that, adults shouldn't do, or, and most don't, but unknowingly, they put their shoes on the couch or their bed, and another sibling comes in there and lays down and puts their face in the proximity of where those shoes are or have been. So if that virus lasts for 9 hours on the shoe, and it transferred from the shoe to the bed, to the sheet, or to the couch cushion, and within that 9 hours, someone comes and lays on that couch and puts their face in that, or they put their hand in it and they rub it in their face because you're home and you think you're safe, then you have just transferred that virus into your body.
Yeah,
that's how the flu spread.
You have to be so on top of everything, and even then, most likely, you miss one little thing, and it don't matter after that. So
yeah,
that's why I kind of preach on, wash your hands, make sure you do what you can do, but other than that, don't sweat it, because if you put all your time and effort into every little thing like what you're talking about, dude, that's living on a whole other level, and I don't think I'm ready for that.
And I'll go ahead and tell you that if you prepare people like the doomsday prepper people, or just preppers in general, I guess, prepare for certain stuff. Some do pandemic, some do nuclear fallout. So essentially what you're going to do is, if you prepared for a nuclear fallout or a nuclear bomb, you're going to be where you need to be for decontamination, because it's the same or pretty close procedures as it would be for decon for a nuclear fallout. Some of the materials are different, like carbon filters. There's some differences, but they're minor, right? So you would essentially go through the same decontamination procedure as you would if you were exposed to nuclear fallout and coming back into a clean shelter. But just from the fallout, not from the other radioactive isotopes that may have penetrated your body. So it's the same decontamination procedures for most chemical and nuclear and biological stuff. So Joe Tough, the shop down the road, but a town is a few thousand and about 40 minutes drive. Okay, so Joe, the best thing I can tell you is, if you sound like you're pretty well off, get what supplies you need, and if you have to hunker down, you'll be safe. Walter Davis, yes, gloves and suits are there and on sale. Yeah, this is the whole problem I see with this. Like, they don't understand. Unless these people are just strictly panic buying to resell, I don't know why in the world you need 4,000 masks. It's going to do you no good. Like I've witnessed people already that are wearing these masks, but yet they'll rub the cart. They don't even use the hand sanitizing wipes or the Lysol wipes that they provide on the cart. They'll be wearing the mask, and then they'll take their hands off the dirty cart that 4,000 other people have touched in the past hour, and scratch their face underneath the mask. Well, you've just infected yourself. It was on the card handle or any of the products. I mean, how many door handles do you touch when you go to a store? So this is things you need to think about. Like if you tell your kid not to touch it, then you should think, or if you don't have children, I do. But I was always telling them, don't run your hands down that, because what do? They'll run their hands down the cooler or anything in the store, and then they're touching their face.
Touch. They like to touch a lot of things.
Or they're picking their nose, or they're licking the ketchup off their fingers after you went to eat, and they didn't wash their hands properly. So it comes down to the only real way is to isolate yourself or go through stringent, very strict decontamination procedures when you come back to your home. And I can show you an easy way to set up a decontamination thing, but there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. Most people are like, somebody commented the other day that you need gluconate something. Okay, that's one of the lowest things you can use, right? One of the best things you can use is a sprayer, and fill it half full of water and half full of hydrogen peroxide, right? Because what do they use to clean high contaminated areas in hospitals and stuff? It's a little known fact, but it's hydrogen peroxide. Now they use a vapor peroxide, but if you vaporize peroxide and there's any living creatures in that area, they will die. So you can't use that in your home if you have pets or people. So I don't recommend that. Plus, it's a $500,000 system. But
isn't that hydrogen gas pretty much at that point?
It's a hydrogen vapor. Without getting into all the technical details, it will kill you. So if you were to vaporize hydrogen peroxide and say a vaporizer that you have at home, and you were in the room, you would die. So Walter Davis said, yes, gloves and suits are still on sale. Yes, sir, they are, because nobody is really paying attention. There's not a big to-do about actual PPE. They are just talking about the masks. So I've heard, Saints and Sappers, I've heard people buying HEPA vacuum bags and making filter masks. Okay, so there's a little known secret. So there's a system called a PAPR. It's PAPR, and forgive me for not knowing the actual breakdown of the acronym, but I remember the PAPR. It's called PAPR. Okay, so this system is a forced air unit that you would wear in a level 4, level 3 lab, or dependent. Some places require to use them, but it uses a HEPA filter. And yes, the HEPA filter will filter all this junk. And as a matter of fact, in the negative pressure chambers that they're putting these people in, they are HEPA filter. The air runs through a HEPA filter so that it doesn't escape, the contagion does not escape out into the atmosphere. So if you were in a room, a hospital room that was negatively pressurized, the air would pass through a HEPA filter before exiting back out into the hospital or outside, so that the contagion would not be spread outside that area. In areas where the masks are gone, I haven't seen it here, but I'm secluded. And in areas where the masks are gone. Yeah. Okay, I got you. I'm tracking now. All right. So yeah, the HEPA filter. Actually, I was going to do a video on that, but I don't want to. If you start telling people, if you start telling these crazy people that are just buying stuff to resell, they'll go buy everything, and then the people that really need it, or really feel like they need it, will panic buy stuff. So yes, you could take a full face scuba mask, a firefighter mask, even one of those $39 snorkeling masks. All right, and you can take that and essentially adapt a HEPA filter to that mask, and you've created what is basically a gas mask that would protect you from these kind of viruses and stuff. So I don't know if I'm still live, so somebody please comment, or otherwise I'm just rambling on. But yes, you can take a HEPA filter and use it for this purpose. And then you need to investigate, though, how long that HEPA filter is going to be viable. So some filters, they only last for 5.5 hours. So, you have to figure that into the equation too. So if you're going to be out for 5 hours and you wear that mask, that cartridge is no longer viable anymore. So once you get home, you go through the decontamination procedures that I explained earlier and discard that filter. Okay. And then you have to put a new one on next time you go out, because if not, it'll be useless and you're just sucking up all the stuff that was soaked into that HEPA filter.
Sorry about all that.
Oh, that's all right. I was just making sure I was still talking because nobody's commenting.
I'm the one having connective issues right now, and in fact, I'm having connective issues on my computer and on my devices, so I don't really understand what's going on, but I guess internet around me right now is spotty.
Well, it's probably because they can't block my internet because mine's so shitty in the first place that.
All right. I mean, I got some fast friggin' internet too, so.
So I'll tell you the funny part about my internet, right? So it's pretty spotty, but it's so bad that, if you play a music service, and I'm probably gonna kick myself in the ass for saying this because I'll figure out how to fix it, but like Pandora or Spotify, it's so spotty out here that it actually doesn't play the commercials or anything because it looks like that you're constantly opening and closing, and so therefore that you don't have to listen to any commercials.
Huh.
So how's that sound?
That sounds pretty good, man.
I don't have to pay for uninterrupted service because the internet's so bad that it thinks that I'm not listening to it all day or whatever.
Right. Well, there you go.
So Joe looks like he's in pretty good position. Saints and Sappers, he's I don't know, I wouldn't say he's a prepper, but he's a prepared individual. So we know he's good. Walter Davis, obviously, if you follow Walter Davis, you should. He's a great channel too. So I think all the like-minded people are the ones that, we've been preaching this stuff for years and years and years and years. And I've been doing it for, 12, 14 maybe. Started out a long time ago on radio before internet was big when YouTube first came out. So it's best to have stuff and not need it, My neighbors are always commenting about like, if you're going on vacation or we'll have that talk, because they'll come say, hey, will you please watch my house? I'm going somewhere, yada, yada, yada. And I'll run through my list of stuff. I'm like, well, here's what I carry in my car on a daily basis. And my neighbor who was going on vacation had a fairly new car. And he's like, well, what do you carry in your car whenever you go on vacation? I'm like, I carry new alternator belts, the tools to change that, serpentine belt, coolant, oil, the gambit of stuff. And he's like, that's a lot of extra weight to carry for a trip. I'm like, yeah, but if you're broke down somewhere and you can't fix it, you got to wait 3 days. And where are you going to be, And so that goes like if you're trapped out in a snowstorm and you don't have an alternator belt, you can't run the alternator to keep the car going. You could have 20 gallons of gas in the back, but you're going to freeze to death because you can't run your car. Because a lot of people, and I would say a lot of people, don't know how to make fire without a quick lighter. So, I mean, you could have gas, you could have all this stuff, but if you don't have that simple belt or even a pair of pantyhose, you could wrap pantyhose around the alternator or for a serpentine belt for, a temporary fix to get you to a town or something. But
yeah, I need to invest in getting some fire starting, like fire rods or those strike rods. like for like a keychain or something, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know how those work, and I can utilize them, but as
Well,
far as rubbing two sticks together, dude.
On a daily basis, everybody that has a purse or a wallet carries a small Fresnel lens in their purse or wallet. I have them in the glove compartments of all the vehicles. So that's one fire starting method. Usually there's some sort of optics like binoculars or a spotting scope or something along those lines that you can use to start a fire. Every time I buy flowers, I ask for extra flower food that comes in those little packets with flowers, because you could take that and mix it with your radiator fluid and start a fire with that.
Well, see, I did not know that. That you need to do a video on that. Maybe not a whole chat, but at least a video, bro.
Well, I did a video for Staff Sergeant Badass over at Step One Survival on what would happen, because he put out a video. Said, what would you do if you were, shit hit the fan, or the world ceases, we know it, and you had to go get home, but you didn't have anything with you. So I went to a junkyard, and I went through the junkyard and found all this stuff in these cars that people had left behind. So I simulated what it would be like if you were actually walking down the highway and there was, numerous amounts of left behind cars. And just the stuff that I found in half an hour or an hour, I think maybe, was phenomenal. Like, I found all kinds of stuff. Now, granted, you may not want to drink out of a water bottle that somebody else had, but if you leave it in the sun for long enough, it'll pasteurize it and there won't be any funk in it anyway. So, but I found lighters, protein mixes, branched chain amino acid packets, salt packets, ketchup, and everything else. So, Joe says, I've not had flu symptoms since I was a kid, 40 now, but my wife had pneumonia last year. Could I still get infected, show no symptoms, and then infect her? According to what I'm being told by my doctors, is that it could be 21 days. So yes, you could infect her if you go out and you don't clean. If you get the virus, you could come home and give it to her. Yes. So if you feel like you come in contact with stuff, and if you come home and you clean your hands and you wash your face or take a shower, is the easiest way to decontaminate from that. But if you ingest the virus somehow through open cut or something, yes, you could pass it on to her.
And that's the scary thing, right? Because you don't know. The virus you don't have any symptoms for at least 14 days. Now they're saying 21.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not even going to think you're sick during this period of time. And people who also don't think they're sick during this period of time can give it to you. So you can't say, oh, I was around people who were coughing and sneezing. Maybe you were, maybe you weren't. Maybe they were, maybe they weren't. But they could not be sneezing, give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know they were sick because they didn't have any symptoms.
Yeah, they're asymptomatic.
And now you're going home to your wife and giving her the stuff without knowing any of the symptoms, because there are no symptoms at least for 21 days. And then by the time you know that you have the symptoms, it's already too late. You've already infected however many people you infected. This bioweapon is pretty good. So,
Joe, if I don't know what your level of I mean, you hunt and fish, so you're probably pretty good with identifying plants. And I believe you said you're from Norway. So the best thing I can tell you is to find herbal medicines. And please forgive me, I'm stupid when it comes to plants outside of my country. But if you can get access to elderberry, I know I believe they grow it in France. I'm not 100% certain, but if you can get a hold of black elderberry and you can have access to honey, you can get and make your own elderberry syrup. It's not a preventative, but it does help boost the immune system. In the United States, they use one big company, Symbacol, I believe is how it's said. They actually sell elderberry syrup that you can take for prevention of cold, flu, and stuff like that. All it does is boost your immune system. So I would do preventative maintenance anyways because it is flu season here, and cold season. So we do that every year. We grow them and then I process them. I freeze dry some. I dry some in my outside solar dehydrator. Make some into tincture. Oh, I just started that this year, the tincture and the elixir. But we've made elderberry syrup since I can remember as a child. And we've taken it, and I haven't had a flu shot since I was in the military, but I haven't had the flu either. So it also helps if you have a good, clean diet, which sounds like you do, if you don't eat a lot of junk food. And I'm not saying
That's the
comfort
main
food's
thing,
bad.
right? Eat real food. Don't eat processed food. That's a good one right there. I've been
Yeah, if you eat healthy,
trying.
then you have a better chance than say someone that's just on a box food diet. So because your system, and believe it or not, there's actually viruses and bacteria in the ground. I know a guy that almost died here in Indiana because he got dirt in an open wound, and it almost killed him, caused some kind of infection in his body. So, I mean, there's pathogens out there that, that may affect one person and may not affect another. So,
Well, the flesh-eating virus is in the ground like that too, isn't it?
yeah, but that's not what he had. He had something else. It caused sepsis in his blood. It's been a few years since I spoke to the guy. He's an older gentleman, but he was, got a cut and was planting flowers in the yard for his wife and spent 8 months in the hospital. He almost died from it. So, And then Saints and Sappers, he says, found some Czech decon suits with booties and molded in mittens to go over Tyvek. Yeah, if I still have a few chemical suits and stuff like that. I know there was another channel promoting using like rain suits and stuff. But if you're really that hardcore into it, you want to get a something that you can decon more than once, that you can walk into the spray makeshift spray booth that you put up, and rinse all that crap off, and then let it air dry. The hydrogen peroxide formula can be found on the internet, and you can use that. I have a viricide that you use 1 ounce per gallon of water, and but you can't put it on your skin. But it's used to decontaminate medical supplies and stuff like that. And I hate not to say it, but I hate to say it because I don't want people to go crazy and go buy it all. I mean, I have 2 gallons of it, so it's not. If you go to a big box wholesale place, you can buy it. And if you look at the back of the label, it'll tell you you use 2% for this, 1% for that. And you can do it at home. So, and what we do is if we feel like there's a threat like that, I'll put a tray like you'd put your boots in outside the door, and you could walk through that and then walk through a clean pail and rinse your shoes and stuff off. So, I mean, there's ways around doing just little things that'll help keep you. You may not get it, but there's mitigation, things that you can do to protect yourself without being in full gear. And there's a lot of military surplus stores that are still selling this stuff. And that's why I said in previous videos, if you're interested in this stuff, I'm not affiliated with these places, but I will be more than happy to tell you where to go get it. But I just don't want somebody that has $10,000 to go buy everything, and the people that feel that they need it have to pay an exuberant amount of money for something that they could have bought for $30 to $50. So,
A little off topic, but not too bad. What you need to do is you maybe start up a one of those Amazon links where if they use your link to do their Amazon shopping, you get a little bit of cutback on that. Because then you could tell them all the stuff to buy. Maybe make it Amazon, and just click your link, and then you get a little bit back. I mean, you're giving out this information. Yeah, it's nice to give it out for free, but it's not going to cost them anything to buy something they would buy anyway on Amazon. So that's a thought.
Joe, yes, definitely check out elderberry and honey, local honey. You want local honey because that takes in count for all the plants that are around you. So that also helps build up your immunity, especially if you have allergies. So definitely check into that. There's all the other herbal medicines. And please, like I said, forgive me. I don't know what kind of trees grow in your area, but if you can find a sweet gum tree, if that's a viable option, you can search that out. And you can use the seeds from the tree and the bark to make a tea. And it is the same compound that they give you in is it Tamiflu? Yeah, the prescription Tamiflu. It's the same compound that you receive from the prescription version of Tamiflu was what they give you to treat the flu so that it doesn't last as long. So there's herbal medicines out there that you can find, and they've been used for a long time before all this synthetic stuff come in. If you go to a pharmaceutical place and look in their R&D labs, they're using plants to synthesize synthetic compounds of what that plant does for you. So, I mean, there's a lot of reason behind why they don't want you to know all the herbal medicine stuff, because they can sell you something that you can get for free in the wild or grow yourself. So
it makes something, well, even if you don't, right? Even if it's only grown in certain areas at certain times of the year, it's still a lot cheaper to just use that than it is if they process it and put it in a pill form. And you've been programmed to think that things that are processed and are in pill form are much better than herbal because it's man-made and there's science behind it. And we all believe in science, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you've been programmed to think that the doctor's medicine is the best medicine out there. When in most cases, it's just herbal stuff put in pill form with a lot of extra additives.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they synthetically make it. Is there some way you can buy online or rapid influenza diagnostic tests? Not that I know of. There may be some test strips. I mean, they make everything from a keto test strip to, to see if you're in ketosis. So there might be. That's something you can look into and let us know if you come back tomorrow and chat with us. Saints and Sapper says it was overkill, but they were really cheap. Yeah, I have the same concept there, Saints. I really like the old gas masks that have the hoods with the external lenses that go on them. So every time I see the hoods, I buy them. They're like $6 a piece, and the lenses are $6 a set. So the reason why I like the gas masks is, one, if there's some kind of nuclear fallout from a power plant or something along those lines, I can protect my family. But two, I wear eyeglasses, and I have a custom set of eyeglasses that go in those gas masks. So that's why I like them. And I fully understand. Yeah, my wife hates it whenever I see something that's cheap and I stock up on it because she's like, did you really need 50 of those? And, I'm just like, no, probably not. But hey, it's better to have it, not have it, right? And then when I told her, I said, well, if I ever die, just look at it this way. It was an investment. You can turn around and sell it as military surplus. So,
yep.
If I said if I ever die, I mean when I die.
Yeah. I like to say if I ever.
Yeah.
Because I plan on living forever.
So it looks like we still have 3 people watching. Brandon, are you still in here? I didn't see if you posted up where you were located at, but it's good that we have people from around the world, interested in this stuff. And
yeah,
I could share more technical. I could share more technical crap, but layman's terms is where it's at, right? The M17s are oldies but goodies. Green ring filters are easier to get. Okay, so I set off to make a 3D printed adapter to turn from a 60 millimeter to the NIOS cartridges, the organic vapor cartridges, the P. Oh man, I can't think of it right now. Basically the cartridges at 3M. I'm giving away a freebie here because somebody's going to take this and run with it. But you can take a 60 millimeter can, convert that down to the 3M gas or 3M mask filters. So if you have a 3D printer.
Right.
And then Joe says
They're getting pretty affordable, by the way. If you guys ever thought about getting a 3D printer, but they were kind of expensive at the time, I think they're easily under $1,000 now for most of them.
yeah. All right, hold on a second. I'm being paged.
Sure. Joe, I do believe there is a lot of lost knowledge of herbal drugs. I know Big Pharma went to Amazon and patented lots of local knowledge. Yeah, I wouldn't doubt that at all. I'm under the belief that Big Pharma wants to own everything they can, and is one of the biggest contributors to disease. And I don't like them. I don't like them at all. Like, I quit smoking with vaping, and they're going after vaping. Why? Is it dangerous? Well, some would say it is, right? But I would disagree. But it's because they have a lot of quit smoking aids that also give you nicotine, but in a different way, and it's cutting into their profits. So anything that cuts into their profits, they go after hardcore. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why we see them going after vaping. Are you back now, Larry?
Yeah, I'm back. Yeah, okay. Sorry. They called me over the radio.
I'm just going on a little rant.
Yeah. Another thing is communication. You should get some kind of communication. Because if you have to deal with a sick person and it's in quarantine in your household, you don't want to go in there every time and then waste masks or waste decontamination procedures and time doing that. So you can get you a little two-way radio. They make thousands of these little different GMRS radios and stuff. And if you have someone in contamination, you can speak to them that way, right? So that's a good way if you have to put somebody in contamination or, quarantine. You can speak with them without, standing outside the door or whatever, if you still have stuff to do, which you're going to have to do. So,
yeah.
But yeah, Amazon, let's see, he says, I know Big Pharma has went to the Amazon and patent. Yeah, see, if you get older books, they're the ones that you really want to look for. Excuse me. Old chemistry books and stuff tell you how to actually synthesize stuff. And it's not really that hard because if people make meth, I mean, you can surely figure out how to synthesize some kind of chemical, right? But a lot of the older books teach you how to do that. A tincture, an elixir, stuff like that is still kind of common knowledge. Like, you can get a lot of that stuff. But Joe says there are flu test kits on Amazon, but they're about $300.
Yeah, but would that even test for the coronavirus? That's not technically the flu.
Yeah, well, this is an ever-evolving. From my understanding, the DNA is one thing, but it also has RNA, which basically, once it gets expelled from your body, it basically turns into confetti, right? And it adapts to the next host that it comes in contact with by replicating into something else. So that's the reason why I think it's possibly a bioweapon.
Mm-hmm.
Because a regular flu virus will only do, maybe one or two generations. Because like last year's flu shot was for last year's flu, right? That's what they dissected it down to and said, hey, this is what we need to treat for.
Yeah, each year it's a different strain kind of thing.
Right. So it's an ever-evolving thing. But with the RNA, it's totally different because it could turn into a million different things, a million different strains, just from going one host to the next. So you can't combat that with a vaccine that's a year old. So,
hey, Tactical Tony.
Technical Tones in the house.
Man, he was doing some live chats last night or yesterday. I didn't catch them all, but I caught a couple.
All I seen was he was in New Mexico and that it was cold.
I know. Well, he got to Texas.
Oh, okay.
I know that. That was the last one I checked out. But man, if you got all the way from Nevada to Texas in one day, you driving hardcore, bro.
Okay, well let's take that into an example here. See, Tony just went from where he was at in Nevada through all those states, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if Tony had the virus and he stopped at 16 gas stations and 2 rest stops, that's 18 places, right?
Then how many people has he infected? It's like a math question.
Yeah, exactly, right? So this requires somebody, this requires somebody with much more math knowledge than me. But think about that, right? So if he can do that, and we all do that, and Tony infected one person at each place, that's 18 people that were infected.
Yeah,
and then
then
they
go
go,
out and infect.
yeah, if they go home and each one of those 18 people infect another people, it's going to keep doubling and tripling, quadrupling. You see what I'm saying? The shit rolls downhill, right? So basically, everybody could be infected and nobody know because it takes 21 days, right?
Yeah, he got at least 100, he says. And he's in Tulsa. Well, there you go,
Yeah.
Oklahoma. Well, you're already out of Texas. He must have went up the northern part of Texas where it's just the panhandle, right? Because Texas, you can take 3 days to get out of there if you go.
And he's driving. So now the lady, or I don't know if it was a lady or male, a man or a woman, but was an LAX flight attendant. How many people did she come in contact with? How many people are even on these new planes? Do you know? I don't know for sure.
No, I don't know. It's got to be like 75 or more, I think.
So my kids used to play this game. It was called something like Contagion.
It's called Plague Inc.
Plague, is that what it was? Something
Plague
like that.
Yeah.
But you would actually try to infect the entire world with a virus. And it's just phenomenal that same game is taking place. I mean, that's what I would have used if I was a logistics person to figure out how fast and easy this would spread, right? And that's exactly what I think they've done. They've gamed it with kids because full of knowledge because their brains are not shunted by normalities that you are adults. So that right there goes to show you that if the kids can figure out how to spread it, I mean, if you want to spread a bioweapon, that'd be the best way to do it is use kids because kids know they're free thinkers. They don't have the constraints that adults have. So
right.
It's a good thing to look into.
Here's a conspiracy theory. Plague Inc. was a way for them to come up with new theories on how to spread a bioweapon. And by them gathering the data of people playing, they increase their own knowledge on how to do it more efficiently.
And that could very well be, yeah. Joe, I wouldn't buy a flu test kit. I mean, just prepare your immune system. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. That's. I mean, okay. So if you get the test kit, right? Well, what kind of peace of mind is it going to offer you? That you know it, that you have it, or you don't. But the best way is just to prepare your immune system. Like I said, pump those. Find the elderberry, whether it's dried or in the syrup form. Some places sell it in a glycerite. So. Yield calculator for kitties. Yeah. Yeah. Saint said it right. Yield calculator. So I'm pretty sure that's a reference to nuclear fallout, but yeah, kids game it for you, figure it all out.
That flu kit, man, what is that going to do though? That's just one. I hope there's a few testing strips in there that you can test more than once, because if it's $300 per test, you're going to test yourself and then go out into public, and then you could be infected then,
Right.
So, yeah, I wouldn't pay that much.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. That money could be well spent on acquiring stuff that could help you in case you did get the flu. I'm actually going to do some research into this, but I went to courses on how to basically be an EMT, right? Or a paramedic. So I could intubate you, not by law, but I could intubate you because I'm not an EMT or a paramedic or a doctor. But I went to classes on this so I could understand it, right? Did a lot of military training on stuff, field medicine. But I'm looking into CPAP and BiPAP machines, right? If you have a person, because these things breathe for you, right? And so if you needed assisted breathing, and like I said, this is just my theory. I'm not tested it. I'm not certified to tell you whether or not it'll work or not. But if you look into CPAP and BiPAP machines, they are assisted breathing, right? So in cases where you stop breathing, these could be used to prolong somebody to fight off the infection. But I'm not 100% sure, so please don't quote me on that. I'm doing further research. But if you can get a hold of one of these things, it might behoove you to acquire one. In case, it, and do your own research, but you may be able to use it to intubate somebody, because they do have nose cannules. There is a moisture content that you can put in most of them, like a reservoir tank. And they also make chin straps that help keep your mouth closed, so that if you have the nasal cannules, or for the full face mask, I guess it doesn't matter. But if you use the nasal cannules, they make a chin strap that keeps your mouth closed. So in theory, and this is just my hypothesis, you could use that in a case if you had all the other drugs to treat the other symptoms that come along with it, like pneumonia and stuff. Krusty Panda says, I'm 100% sure it won't work. Okay, well, like I said, it's just a theory. I don't know for sure, and I'm not telling you to count your life on it. By all means, go seek out professional medical help. But I am looking into it. Just like people are using the HEPA filter bags as masks and stuff. I mean, there's usually an alternative. So I'm just looking into it. I don't know the pressures that are involved with CPAP or BiPAP versus the pressures that are involved in an actual intubation set. So, or not intubation, but a breather machine, for lack of my terminology, So, Krusty Panda, thanks for joining us. Please tell us what you know about it. Do you know anything about this?
Please share.
What is your goal? Making a do-it-yourself respirator? No, we're just talking about. Well, you can actually make a do-it-yourself respirator from CPAP machine stuff, the nose cannules and stuff. You just have to 3D print an adapter to put the cartridges on, and then you can use those masks if you're clean shaven. Or I know this because I have one. I made a cannule one, so I have a beard, and I do metalworking, and I don't want to get scoliosis or anything like that working with fiberglass and all that other jazz that I work with. So I made one that straps to your head, and it uses nose cannules and a small fan that's actually used for paintball masks, and a Nios cartridge from 3M. So what I'm talking about is actually using a CPAP or BiPAP to provide respiratory care for someone that has, say, pneumonia or something, in case they have trouble breathing or they stop breathing and you need to give them essentially a way to breathe. So while we're waiting on him, any other questions, comments? I was pararescue for 24 years. Just happened to know a few things about medical stuff. Wow, that's awesome, man. We appreciate any knowledge you can share with us. Like I said, I'm by no means a expert. I've had training too. I was in the military as well. Hazmat certified, and we're just trying to work out some things so people don't panic. And thank you for your service.
And maybe even different ways around all the masks that people are buying up in droves because they think that's going to save them.
Yeah.
So this is great information on what will actually do something for you instead of panic buying the latest fad thing that everybody thinks is going to help.
In a pinch, you can use a bag. CPR supplies are dirt cheap. Yeah, I have the bag, the BioVap. I have a couple of those in my rescue kit that I carry in the car, so you can actually intubate somebody with that and then breathe for them. I'm just looking for like a method that you can use a BiPAP, CPAP to provide basically inflate and deflate the lungs in case that they do come unresponsive and you have no way to get them to medical treatment. That was my hypothesis anyway. So it needs lots of further development. But I appreciate anything as you can provide. We're just trying to help people out so that if you have to and you can't get the medical help, what can we do?
Yep.
I don't know what the minimum PSI or maximum PSI it takes to inflate lungs. So, and then of course I don't, there's other things like if you have pneumonia from respiratory failure, stuff like that.
Tone is having to pay a toll. Yeah, that's something you're gonna have to get used to, Tone. Everything east of you from there on is gonna have toll roads. Like the whole eastern coast, like almost down the middle of the country to the east, it's all toll. Well, there's a lot of tolls.
Just don't go to DC because it's like a $600 toll.
Right.
Oh, it is. It's expensive, depending on how close you get to DC without taking the toll roll.
Driving for Schneider going cross country, man, it's an ordeal. I couldn't believe how many toll roads. Because out west of Texas, and I think some Texas does have toll roads, but most of everything west of Texas, we don't have toll roads. That's not a thing out here.
Krusty Panda says, how much is a CPAP compared to a diving float air compressor? Just depends. You're not supposed to be able to sell medical equipment, but sometimes you'll find them on eBay, Macari. Sometimes it's the Goodwill resale stores. Usually don't sell them, like Goodwill and stuff, but sometimes you'll find them. The dive gear might be cheaper and more suitable. Okay. All right, I'll write that down and look into that as well. I pay about $150 a month on toll roads. Holy crap!
God. Oh my goodness! You do some traveling. Are you? I wonder if he travels or drives for a living, whether it be for a truck or some sort of transport service. Because that's a lot. That's a lot.
Brandon says, would you ever pay $500 for a Supreme t-shirt? I have no idea what a Supreme t-shirt is.
I do, actually. I know what it is because I have a young daughter and she watches YouTube channels that I would never watch on my own. But yeah, Supreme is just a name. It's a t-shirt that says Supreme on it. Well, they have other things too, but for this example, a t-shirt with the word Supreme on it that they charge $500 for this t-shirt because it's a Supreme t-shirt. The quick answer to that would be hell no, bro.
Yeah, I might pay if it came with a $500 piece of gold tucked in it somewhere in the tag or something, but
no, it's just the name. And I got caught up in kind of something like that as a kid. When I was a kid back in the 90s, I wanted Oakleys. They were $5 piece of plastic that, if you got the same kind of glasses from Circle K were like $5, but they were charging like $150 for the same materials. Obviously, you're paying for the name. And that is like the one thing that I was guilty of paying for the name on. But no, something like that, that's just ridiculous.
And where do you live, Brandon, that you do they have these in the stores or something? I mean, that's outrageous.
Yeah, well, I think there's stores, but also I'm sure there's online too. But no, that's like everywhere, dude. Like all the top YouTubers, the top YouTubers that you wouldn't watch.
Oh yeah, okay.
Like Logan Paul or whatever. I think Logan Paul did something on there. I don't know that. I don't follow it, but I know enough to know that a lot of the top YouTubers have everything Supreme, right? They go into their room and show you all the Supreme stuff they overpaid for, and it's kind of like a clout thing.
Yeah, no.
Which is just silly and stupid, but people watch that shit, dude.
Mainly sold online. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, I would prefer to put new tires on my car than.
Oh, it's priorities.
Brandon is not from America. Okay. Yeah, no, I mean, there's definitely Yeah, I wouldn't pay. I mean, I hate paying $20 for an Under Armour shirt. So
It's not status, it's clout, right? I could go in because I was in the t-shirt business. All right, I had a industrial press that I could make your face on a t-shirt if I wanted to, right? It would be very easy for me to just screen print or heat press Supreme on a t-shirt and call it the same.
Mhm.
So the whole thing about for status is some bullshit, bro. If you get hooked into that, to me, it just shows you how retarded you are, if anything. I wanted to touch on Joe's though, that he just drives to work and back, and has to pay $150 a month on toll roads. Dude, can you get a tax write-off? Is there anything to mitigate that toll fee at all? Because $150 a month, man, I don't think I'd have to have a really good paying job to be able to afford that.
I would probably just buy an off-road motorcycle and
Right.
drive it back and forth the back way. I mean, at that price, you could pay the payment on an off-road motorcycle.
Get like a gyrocopter, one of those home build kits.
Yeah.
Fly into work. Holy crap, $150 a month.
$500 for a Supreme brick, literally a brick with Supreme printed on it. Yeah, I mean, that's it. I guess if you got more money than you have sense, then yeah, I mean, I'd rather put it into growing my own food or something along those that makes my life a little easier. Yeah, I get a little tax break, but not much. Yeah, I would look into alternate means. I mean, if you're paying that kind of money and you're okay with riding a dirt bike, I mean, and it'll suit your needs, or off-road vehicle of some sort, to where you can take the non-beaten path. Or, I mean, here in America we have, side roads, dirt roads.
That's the thing, though. Out east, they make it very hard to get around a toll road.
Oh yeah, they've done it here. They put a new bridge in, and they want to charge you $4.20 just to cross it, and you can go a mile out of the way. Not even a mile out of the way, but they have it set up so if you miss the exit, you have to go across the $4.20 toll bridge. So, I mean, but you can go, like I said, a mile down the road and get across a free bridge. So, I mean, it's all in perspective. I mean, is it worth $4.20 to go, 5 minutes faster? I mean, to some people it may be, and a lot of people do it. A lot of trucks do it because, they have no choice. Like semi drivers, they have no choice.
Yeah.
But
You can't just drive on any road when you're driving a semi truck.
what's it like living in Indiana? I live in a rural area, and so it's pretty laid back. We grow our own food, and I mean the majority of it, and can the stuff, and it's a good place to live. It's quiet. I mean, there's some, like everywhere, there's idiots everywhere. So he says motorcycles and electric cars don't pay. Yeah, I wouldn't buy an electric car either. My sister has one, and I couldn't replace the serpentine belt because it would make it out of warranty. So I would definitely look into alternative means if at all possible, to save yourself some money. That's outrageous.
Yeah, the whole toll road thing pisses me off because they're like, well, it's to pay for the roads to repair and keep them nice. I've been on those toll roads. Those things still aren't nice a lot of the times. And that's what your state tax is for. Like, I don't know how much tax you're paying, but I would imagine you're paying a state tax. There's only a few states out there that don't have a state tax. Texas, I think, is one of them. But, I live in Arizona, and here it's 8%. And we don't have toll roads because that 8%, well, there's state tax and then there's sales tax. I think I'm getting those mixed up. But anyway, the state tax is for the roads out here, and that's why we don't have toll roads out west of Texas. And
Joe says that this is the second most expensive country in the world, though. Everything is expensive. Yeah. Yeah.
The land of the free is expensive as hell, man.
Yeah. Yeah, they get you making it, they get you taking it, and they take it as much as they can. Just by taking your taking your food back into your own hands, which they'll probably make illegal soon. But I mean, just the amount of money you save just by growing your own food and stuff. And I mean, that's just phenomenal, because if you think about what you pay in the store versus a pack of seeds and a little bit of your labor on, a weekend and maybe 1 to 2 days a week, you pay $2.50, so let's say, for a cucumber, and you can get a whole pack of seeds for a cucumber for $2.50. Now, if you put in a little bit of time and care into your own cucumbers, you'll have so many that you can't give them away. I know around here, people, when season's in and cucumbers are like, if you have an open car window, people are putting fresh fruit and fresh vegetables in your car just to get rid of them. I mean, you can't sell them fast enough. I mean, we have farmers markets, and I mean, most of the time people give the stuff away. I'm notorious for that. Like, I'll feed, 5 or 6 people on my block, and my wife's friends' families will come over, and I just have them weed the garden, or weed, one of the gardens, and let them take a box of whatever they want to take home with them. So I essentially do like a CSA, but I don't charge any money for it. But I do, I guess, receive money for it, I guess, in labor, but I don't charge them anything, So would you, Brandon says, would you rather live in New York or LA if you had to choose? Well, by New York, though, that New York has a lot of upstate New York. So I'd probably choose upstate New York because that's out of the way. LA, that's the urban. There's no real way to escape the urban.
Well, now that's if it means New York City or LA City, right? Because at that point, if you have to live in New York City, I'd still pick LA, and I'd still probably pick LA over New York State, only because I don't like the cold that much, to be honest. And living in New York, that'd be pretty cold just for that, let alone the laws. The laws are about the same in both. I guess LA is technically a little more lax with gun control laws than New York, I think. But if so, not by much.
Joe says the U.S. is about 30 times bigger than Norway, but we only have 5 million population. So
that's about what I have in my city here.
Yeah, so that's why, the taxes are outrageous there, I guess.
Yeah.
But as it sounds like
it
sounds like he's already, implementing all the stuff that we're talking about. So
yeah,
I don't know. I wish I could help. I mean, other than growing your own stuff and you hunt and fish, man. I mean,
do everything you can do to mitigate the money that you have to pay out, and you'll be doing pretty good for sure.
Yeah, definitely think outside the box. Don't do any kind of research if it's something small. It's so bad that my brain runs all night long, so I don't sleep much. But I keep a notepad beside the bed, and if I come up with an idea that might, help me or somebody in another way, I'll try to, share that idea, and people can adapt it for their situation. Just like I do these videos, I quit doing them for many years, and now I'm doing them again because I feel like everybody should start doing a little bit more to help themselves and not be dependent on the government or the grocery store. So Turkey has sent fresh widows and orphans.
I was laughing at Gun Coast to Coast comment. That one's funny.
I found a great way to save money was to get rid of women. Ha.
Yeah, your shoe budget just decreased quite a bit.
Yeah, but without women, we wouldn't be able to repopulate. So there's a lot of perks that go along with that. So speaking of which, mine is calling me right now, and I'm supposed to be remodeling the kitchen for her today. So It's been an hour and 49 minutes. I appreciate everyone's time. We'll be back tomorrow at 9:30, 9:45. So please join us then.
What are we going to talk about tomorrow?
We can talk about this if that's what everybody wants to talk about.
Okay.
Or we can just have a general chat.
As soon as you can get your video coming up, man, I do want you to walk us through garden planning because it is the season. And I know I need a lot of help on it. Maybe we'll just do a private one if you want, but
Yeah, if I can get it to where I actually show up and don't lose signal, I will be more than happy to do it. If not, I'll do just a regular video and post it to YouTube. So stay tuned for that.
and don't forget, everybody, to check out the descriptions of this video. He's got some links there if you're interested in checking those out. Do that as well.
So thumbs up, thumbs down, bitches, most complaints, leave them in the comment section below. I'm USMC Vet, and that's Poison Stinger. And thanks for coming, and we'll see you guys and gals tomorrow, and Godspeed to you all.
Yep, good luck out there. Love it that I trip over